I bet you're wondering what's in this gift. Over the next several weeks, there'll be a lot of people buying a lot of these. You ever wonder why people like to give so much? I think it's because we're tapping into the God image that's already in us. There's something about giving that reflects the character of God to those around us. That's why this month we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the virtue of generosity. In each one of our lives, we have a tendency to either move toward a lifestyle of generosity or a lifestyle of greediness. There's a danger in, over time, getting wrapped up in ourselves or maybe wrapped up in our things. And what we want to talk about this month is getting wrapped up in others and what it really means to show God's character and nature to a generation by giving. That's why during the next few weeks, we're going to talk about a number of Bible stories. The first story is about a man who had a lot of stuff that he kept accumulating over time. And during the context of his life, he failed to think about others around him. And so he just kept building bigger barns. Another story, and I think it's fitting for this season, is actually the greatest gift that was ever given, the story of Jesus and his birth. And why it's important for us to recognize that God is a giving God who gave us the greatest gift of all so that we can understand what it meant to know him in a personal way. And then we're going to continue to talk about the wise men who one day showed up to see Jesus and to present their gifts to him, to show him how important he was. Isn't that the reason we give gifts anyway? To show the value that others have in our lives. And in that moment in time, they basically made a statement to all of humanity to see how important Jesus was as a gift to the world. And then we're going to end this month talking about a young man who is rich, or at least he thought he was rich, because he had so many things and so much stuff, and he was kind of wrapped up in himself, and he wouldn't let go of the things that really didn't matter. He was willing to trade what was eternal for what was temporary, and he failed in that context to pursue a relationship with Jesus. So basically what we hope is that these stories will somehow help you unpack in a children's world this principle of generosity so they'll grow up and understand what it means to show God's character to the world. Because here's what we think. We think if children will understand how to give, not only will it change the world around them, it'll change them. For example, there's a young man in a northern city named Seth. Last Christmas, he taught us all a very important lesson. Even though he was kind of unruly in class, and even though he was your typical fifth grader who wouldn't pay attention, and even got in trouble for being a little disrespectful in his class, he was challenged along with the rest of the kids to support another child in another country who was poor. And as a result of doing that, something happened in Seth's life. As a matter of fact, the teachers even said his attitude changed, his attention span changed. On one occasion, he even decided that he would shovel snow at the first snowfall to raise money so that he could be a part of supporting another child in another country somewhere else. And according to the teachers who wrote us the letter, there was a radical transformation in Seth's life. That's because generosity changes us when we learn how to give the way God gives. 1 Timothy 6:18 says, "Be rich in good deeds, be generous and willing to share." Kind of redefines what it means to be rich. In other words, you're not generous because you're rich because you're generous. And ultimately, if we're going to raise children who understand what it really means to be rich, we've got to teach them to give. We've got to teach them to share. We've got to teach them to put others first and to make sure they're not wrapped up in themselves, but they're wrapped up in others and what it means to give to them. Remember what Anne Frank said, "No one has ever become poor by giving." You know, the average American will spend nearly $800 this year buying presents and giving them away. And there are organizations around the world that can take half that amount of money and actually feed, educate, clothe a child for an entire year. Those of us who understand how to give and who challenge children and who challenge families to participate in a lifestyle of generosity teach people what it really means to be rich. I know a lot of people who are going to get the same thing that is in this gift that I have right here. And it's exciting because what is in this gift? What is in this gift reminds us all of what it means to be generous. And even though it doesn't seem like it's worth a lot, it's extremely valuable. I want to show you what it is. It's simply a little hand-drawn colored picture from a child in another country who was supported by someone who paid a few dollars each month to help them have clothing, education, and food. but it's a reminder to us of how giving and a lifestyle of generosity can change a life. And I have a sneaky suspicion that the people who get this for Christmas and who understand this concept will be people who really understand what it means to be rich. So this Christmas, during this season, we want you to take this as an opportunity to remind every child who comes into your church, who comes through your ministry, that generosity is simply making someone's day by giving something away, and that they are never more like God than when they live a lifestyle of giving.